Hello all and welcome once again to the Overlapping Magisteria channel. This, of course, is on what is called What's in a Number. We're basically talking about the fear of mathematics in society and what people need to practically learn in order to be able to function more effectively in society beyond basic arithmetic. Joining me today is Stacey Dunn, who is who has their bachelor's in applied mathematics, specifically in engineering mathematics, if memory serves, correct?
Engineering option, mathematics degree, yeah.
Okay, so basically, the main thing which started this off was that a friend of mine on Facebook commented on this particular issue here, which said basically math is mental abuse to humans. So, and they even went so far as to say that it was cruel and unusual as well. I don't know whether they were joking or not, but Stacey, where do you think this kind of fear of mathematics comes from in our culture?
Well, I think that there are a couple of different ways that it can come about, especially among women, especially those approximately my age, mid to late 40s.
Mm-hmm.
There was a tendency to try to dissuade us from taking mathematics or pursuing mathematics in any sort of meaningful way. There's a certain amount of the sociological aspect. There's also the fact that I think with math, as opposed to other things such as reading and writing, math is much harder to teach oneself. It really does, to a certain extent, require a certain amount of mentoring that many people just don't have.
So, just out of curiosity, then, from that, where does this discouragement come from in particular? Have you found?
Well, again, this is only my experience, but I got it from teachers and although not so much from professors. By the time I made it to the college level, actually, I'd say that my professors were overall quite supportive. But definitely until that time, there was also in the community in which I lived a certain social issue among quote unquote appearing too smart.
Do you feel that it's okay to go into that a little bit more, just so this way our viewership can understand what that actually looks like, so to speak?
Well, I had one instructor who pretty much taught the whole course using football metaphors, which meant that if you weren't terribly into football, it probably wouldn't help you very much. I literally did have many teachers say at the beginning of pretty much each year, many math teachers say that women simply aren't well suited to learning mathematics.
Okay, so at least now that we've covered that, given the fact of this particular fear going on in society, I'm assuming that means that the functional numeracy of our culture, and by that I mean North American culture in general, is actually pretty low at the moment. What skills would you recommend that the average person should be trying to teach themselves beyond basic arithmetic in order to function in our society more effectively?
Well, definitely basic algebra at the very minimum, and if possible, through statistics. Statistics are extremely useful, both to help you evaluate scientific data as it comes out, and also just in terms of general usefulness in your own world. Statistics comes with a hefty dose of logic, and logic goes a long way.
I don't doubt. I don't doubt that. Would you be willing to give our viewers some practical examples of how statistics has benefited you and could potentially benefit them?
Well, one of the things that I actually did investigate as part of picking a major when I went to college
Mm-hmm.
was what percentage of students were able to get a job in their own field, basically within a certain, say, financial bracket. that would pretty much put you into, say, the middle class. But that's only part of the story. There's also, that tells you how many people get into that job, but then there's also how many people from this particular school go into that job. What is their placement rate? How many of their students actually get there? Another person I know actually didn't do this kind of investigating and found that after they had paid to get a 4-year degree, they really couldn't get a job that would even allow them to live comfortably, much less buy a house, raise a family, so on and so forth. That can be a big difference in your long-term quality of life. And in the United States, where I live, it can also affect whether or not you get, say, things like health care, which can affect your ability to live in some cases.
So just out of curiosity, one of the things that often ends up happening is it seems like there's almost this conditioning fear against math and stuff like that. What do you think besides the besides obviously encouraging people to pick up besides trying to go into STEM fields in general, what do you think would be the best way that we can start trying to combat this fear in the average person who's in the United States right now, or in North America? What do you think we can do as a society to start encouraging people to trying to train themselves in the necessary mathematics they need for basic functioning?
I think that one of the primary ways I think we need to help people in this regard is we need to show them where math is applicable in their own lives, how it will help them, how it will help them know whether they should, say, get a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage. The difference between a 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage can literally be tens of thousands of dollars. And most people don't really have the numerical skills to make a reasoned decision between the two. I think basically if you sat down with most people, how much they could save in the course of, say, 10 years by applying some basic numerical mathematical concepts towards a lot of the things they're used to doing, they'd be more inclined to make the effort to actually find out what they need to know.
And the one final aspect, just to give a context on the problem, so to speak, I don't remember what the exact numbers are on functional numeracy in the United States right now. So that's, percentage-wise, that's not going to be something we can cover right now. But I do want to get an idea of what the state of the lowest, like basically how bad the situation is in terms of extremes, even if not in terms of percentages right now. What is the, I believe you mentioned something earlier about how homeschooling has been affecting both functional numeracy and literacy during one of our previous conversations?
Yes, that's true. Now, it's important to note that if you're taking homeschooling as a whole, people homeschool for many different reasons. On the average, homeschoolers don't do appreciably better or worse. At least from the studies that I've seen. Others may find other studies, so don't take this as gospel. However, at the extremes, several people who were homeschooled as children do not have sufficient literacy to, say, write a one-page paper. Some of them are functionally illiterate, and many of them are not able to perform what most of us would consider basic calculations, such as calculating the tax on a given item, or adding up several items with decimal points.
Just out of curiosity, do you happen to have any information as to what motivates this kind of extreme homeschooling, for lack of a better word, or why the results are so poor?
Well, one of the issues that we get into, and this is not true, I would add, either of all religions or of all religious people, So please don't take it as a generalization of all. There are cases in which certain religious groups stress to severely overworked parents, usually mothers, that the most important thing they can do is transmit their religious values to their children. And if they're not so good in reading or mathematics or whatever, well, that can be made up later. That's not entirely true. It can't always be easily made up later if you haven't had that, if you don't have that foundation upon which to grow. As to whether or not one's religious traditions are more important, well, that I suppose depends upon the family and upon their perspective.
All right, well, fair enough. Thanks again, Stacey, for coming on the for coming on the video to talk about this issue. To everyone who has been watching, I will be eventually linking sources in the links in the description below to various places where one can pick up some basic statistical and other sources, including Khan Academy and a couple of others. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and thanks, Stacey, for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one, everybody. See y'all in the next video.
Sounds good.